Mr. Mack-Poole, 3-minute history, the Prague Spring. So the Prague Spring was essentially a movement for greater liberalisation and freedom within a communist system in Czechoslovakia. Now that country no longer exists, but Czechoslovakia did end up being invaded by the Soviet Union and its Eastern Bloc Warsaw Pact members. Just so you know, Czechoslovakia was a full member of the Warsaw Pact and did not suspect that it would be invaded. So who are our key players and what did they want? Well, we had Dubček. Now, Dubček was the leader of Czechoslovakia. He wanted greater economic freedoms in Czechoslovakia, and he also wanted greater freedoms in the press, and he allowed other political parties to organise, all whilst being within a communist system. And these reforms obviously alarmed Brezhnev, who was in control of the Soviet Union. Brezhnev was the Soviet premier in 1968. Big brows, big policies, okay? And he wasn't happy about Czechoslovakia, which was a key member of the Warsaw Pact, seemingly modernising to a degree which looked like it was going in a capitalist direction. Dubček famously said that he wanted socialism with a human face. Unfortunately, if you look at this reflection here, he got a lot of tanks coming from the USSR. I'm sure he didn't tank them for that. So what were the causes of the Prague Spring? Well, one of them was actually the fact that Czechoslovakia had already developed its industry. Now, the Soviet planning model was that it would come into an Eastern Bloc country, develop its industry through 5-year plans, and collectivise its countryside. Well, Czechoslovakia was already economically developed, so this system didn't really work for them. And that's why Dubček saw greater economic freedoms for his country, Czechoslovakia. There's also a kind of sociological cause. In the 1960s, the hippie movement sprung up. Now, where did they come from? Well, the hippie movement really had its roots in the Cold War. They opposed this kind of idea of nuclear Armageddon. They wanted peace, man, internationally. So a large approach to the Prague Spring was actually very peaceful. And for this reason, don't get this confused with the 1956 Hungarian uprising. The Hungarian uprising was largely violent. The Prague Spring was largely peaceful, although there was some violence and riots in Prague. Brezhnev was not impressed, Nev. In fact, he was worried, Nev. He was so concerned he sent 500,000 Warsaw Pact troops to invade Czechoslovakia on the 20th of August 1968, and he also sent 2,000 tanks. Dubček, knowing that Czechoslovakia stood no chance, ordered his troops to stand down. And this is where we see some of the more interesting protests, because we see Czechoslovakian hippies putting flowers down the barrels of Red Army guns, and that is highly symbolic. While some tanks were attacked, Czechoslovakia was ostensibly conquered very quickly. Brezhnev would announce his Brezhnev Doctrine, and this was essentially he would not allow any Eastern European country to fall to capitalism. He would always seek to defend a communist system. Also, America did not intervene again. Lyndon B. Johnson did not dare, just like the Hungarian Revolution. They respected those